what?
I was doubting it until about 4 a.m. I was like,
Wow. Yeah, I was the same. I went to sleep and I was like, oh, whatever. It's probably just going to be solid rain.
Skeptical until it. But once it started, it just didn't stop. I mean, it was like we're just going to do this for 10 hours. Like, it could. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I turned on the live stream, so just everyone knows. And so, if you're watching now, we're just talking about the snow. That's it. You can talk about the snow with whoever you're with too.
We're live.
All right. Well, for those of you who are either watching now, watching later, or for the thousands of people who are here currently, welcome. We're excited. My name is Jonathan Shirley. I'm with the Lead Center. We're excited to start back up this series called Dreams to Reality, which is with different entrepreneurs. We have really been fortunate to find some wonderful people to agree to talk to us. And while part of it is maybe learning about what they do, more of it is about you thought this thing was going to happen and it went one way and then it went another way, or we've been talked with some great people. But today we are talking with Noah Brandon, who is the president and CEO of Unitech Training Academy. When we first decided that we were going to do these talks, I emailed Noah. I was like, oh, Noah would be so fun to talk to. And Noah said, I would love to. And then I never got back in touch with him. And that was a year ago. And so here we are.
Hey, look.
Circling back to get you to talk to you. But thank you for being here, Noah.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's fun to watch these. You always have entertaining guests, and like the stories are great. And I'm happy to be here to talk to you.
Yeah. All right. So I guess quickly your journey with Unitech, and then we'll dive into more stuff. But,
My journey with Unitech. Okay. Well, I don't know if there's a quick to that, but I'll do my best. My mom started Unitech in 1997.
Yeah.
It was true just from scratch. Like literally, she went to Salvation Army to negotiate some lab supplies, and she got she was able to get a old hospital bed, used supplies for $25. I mean, she was.
Oh wow.
She negotiated her rent with the landlord. Said, I'll pay you in 3 months. Give me the first 3 months free. Let me get started, and we'll push it forward. And so she was really she had a vision. She wanted to push it forward. Started with one program, and she was everybody. She was admissions instructor, career services, all of the above, right? And so her ability to really work through all the adversity in a startup. And again, she was a woman in the 90s, trying to, get into this field, which is, it's tough in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
And so I was 11 at that time, and so she'd bring me along, and
you teach the CPR classes.
There was a time in 2006, I think, I was the only CPR instructor in the company. So when I was in college,
not
week,
11, just throw that out.
Yeah,
there.
Right.
Not just
jumping a timeline here, but yeah, there was a time I bounced around all the campuses. I would teach CPR on the weekends, so yeah, that was fun. But yeah, back then, I was sleeping on that bed at night when she was teaching night classes.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I was there cleaning up. I tell everybody jokingly, my first job was yard boy.
Yeah.
So you kind of grow up in this thing. I've held every position. I've been admissions, I've been career services, I've done financial aid, I've taught. I've been an administrator, I've run departments, and so you gradually just work your way up. And again, I just turned 39.
Yeah.
Happy
birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And I have over 20 years experience in this, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of a unique perspective with that.
Yeah.
And so
and I guess we're going to bounce around and go all over, but to start with, you just stayed. I mean, I guess you left for a little bit. You've done some other stuff, but why make that decision to continue to return?
Well, I think that's a question. I think as you are growing up in a family business, there's always that. All right, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? It's there for me. I don't. Do I want to do something else? Do I want my own thing? Do I want to be here and run this? And so I think most people that are in a family business, you have that inner kind of struggle of, what am I going to do, knowing that you have an option, which is a very nice place to be, by the way.
Oh,
I
for
mean,
sure.
I concede that. I think writers will say, write what you know.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's a professional aspect of that of, do what you know and, lean into that. And I've grown up in this. I know this. We've gone and I've worked for some other places after college. I worked at some other places during college, while also just having some part-time work at Unitech. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunity for somebody like me who, again, if I'm in an organization, at some point, like history would show, I'm going to be a president of that organization. Like I'm going to work my way up to run that organization. Like I like being the person who's making the decisions. I like being the person who's collaborating with other people to make an organization better, try to move it forward. And this laid out perfectly for that, just for what my interests were. And so they aligned. And, I'm thankful to be able to have that opportunity. I'm thankful that my mom sacrificed and worked really hard so that I had the opportunity to make that decision, had the opportunity to have, I'm pretty well educated, and that's a byproduct of her. That's a family accomplishment. And so for me, it's about moving her legacy forward and building on our family's legacy and helping to educate the frontline workforce, and try to help them change their lives and move things forward.
So, and we talked obviously before this, but when you think about watching your mom do this, everything that was before that too. I mean, just kind of you guys bounced around quite a bit. I mean, before you finally ended up sort of settling in Lafayette. Right. I mean, like that journey. It's the journey that makes us who we are. I mean, that's the thing that like embeds little things here and there. So whenever you think about it now, and maybe looking back on it, what are some little things that just sort of embedded in you in either the bouncing around or watching moms decide, I'm going to start this?
Well, it's an interesting question. Just giving a little bit of background on that. Had a pretty abusive biological father. And, at one night when I was 7, mom just kind of had enough. She said, all right, we're out of here. All right, I'm done. And so we got out of there and had no money. He drained the account, had nothing. And so we were bouncing around. We were homeless for a good while, sleeping in cars, we get a motel every once in a while, crashing on couches, just, sporadic. And I went to 8 different schools before high school, so always trying to get to the next place. Yeah. And mom, I'm a parent now, and I can only imagine how hard it was for her, right? But being a parent's tough. Yeah. Much less you have all that going on. Yeah. And so, from my perspective, being able to watch her work through that, there were times where first place we found was a broken down mobile home, no heat. We opened the oven for heat. We didn't have food for a period of time. Mom was able to always make sure I ate, but like there's like a time where I had like a box of cereal to eat on for a week, and she didn't have anything outside of what she could pick up at work. Yeah. When you go through those things as a family, because again, I was right there along with her, and we were so closely tied to what we were trying to do. I mean, she was able to see an opportunity, move forward with it, really try to make something happen. And it was tough. I mean, again, you're really just trying to get by. She had a heart attack at the age of 37. The stress is real. Yeah. And for me, that's something I pay attention to because I'm 39. Like, all right, man. Yeah. I try to monitor my stress because running a business is stressful. Yeah. Running a school is stressful. Having a family business, there's levels of stress that go into that because there are different dynamics. Yeah. You combine all 3 of them. There's a lot of moving parts with that. And so even though things are tough, they could be a lot worse. They could be a lot tougher. We've been through hard. Sure. What we're going through right now is a challenge. Yeah. There's difficulty with that. And so, but when you're time tested and you go through things and, your capacity is a lot greater because, you have so much adversity early on. Yeah. And so I'm not going to sit here, hard is hard. Different people that have different hards, it's not really a contest. But I mean, in terms of answering the question, I would say when you've been through such adversity, trying to work through things. You've seen your mom work through it. You've seen her overcome it. You know that there is a pathway to success if you grind it out and stick through it. There can be fat years and skinny years, but overall, how is it? And I think keeping it in perspective is a big thing. Typically, when things aren't going right, your ability to stay calm and work through it, that's important.
Yeah. And I think I'm sure there's plenty of like, you mentioned a little bit, I mean, like being able to look back and be like, okay, we've gone through however you want to define worse, right? Like we've gone through this, like whatever is going on now, it's not that. Like, it's not that. So,
well, and I think sometimes it's kind of overcoming that collective PTSD too, right? Yeah. Where like when I'm talking with her, sometimes it's when things aren't going right, they're not going in the right direction. Yeah. It starts getting triggering of like, okay, we got to like buckle down and make sure. Say, well, listen, we're not there. It's not that bad. Yeah. We have to stay the course. It's fine. It's not going to. The path to success is not a straight line, unfortunately. Yeah. And so there's going to be twists and turns and dips and everything. But as long as the big picture is still moving forward, that's important. Sure. NVIDIA took a big hit yesterday. Absolutely. And they're one of the most successful companies. Because their competition is going real big right now and it's spooking everybody. But absolutely. You haven't heard of DeepSeek? Take a moment. Right. Right. But they'll be back. Absolutely. But this is not just a progressive straight line. That's not how the real world works. Yeah. And so being in charge of your emotions with that's important, which is something that again you learn. Yeah. Going through. Well, you realize that business life doesn't really matter. Like there are valleys. Yeah. But if you have proof that you've made it through valleys in the past, then future valleys don't seem as daunting. Yeah. It's like I've been down there, and I got out. So if I have to go down there again, I can. But I also have strategies to not get, maybe I'm not going to go as deep this time, or it's not going to be as difficult this time, or, my comeback is going to be easier. Yeah. You've got some of that collective scar tissue in some instances. Yeah, and I think a lot of that's time on task too. You have to go through experiences. You have to live through that in order to be better, when it comes around again. Some people are just naturally good at it. And I love that. I think that's terrific. I love people that are naturally good at things. Yeah. That's a skill set I had to learn. But I think we got there. So we can go all over the place. The Unitech building where it is now, the Lafayette campus, was Ryan's. It was Ryan's. Yeah. Did you find any fun stuff? There's got to be, if you've never been to Ryan's, or if you're not old enough to know what Ryan's is, take a moment to Google Ryan's. Ryan's Steakhouse. Ryan's Steakhouse. Steakhouse is a loosely used term. Well, when it came to Ryan's, I feel like there was the Ryan's here. There was the Ryan's that was in Natchitoches that we always stopped at after a cross country meet, and it caught all of our runners sick for 3 consecutive years. So we stopped going to Ryan's. So I was excited about whenever Unitech took over. I was like, well, yeah, right. One less place to get. Man, when I played football in high school, my parents would take us to Ryan's, and we would bring some of my teammates along, and it was great because you got 3 or 4 football players in high school. You just eat you go buy a buffet and let them go. Let us go to town, and we put a hurting on them. We might be part of the reason they're not there anymore. But, exactly. Yeah. It's an interesting strategy to eat someone out of business and then take over their building. We went hard. I guess whatever works. Yeah, we got it. But no, it's a beautiful building on the inside. I keep saying at some point, obviously, we need to touch up the outside so it doesn't look like a Ryan's anymore. But the inside, when you go in, it's fully renovated. It's a beautiful campus on the inside. You would never know when you walk in that was ever a restaurant. Yeah. But the outside's definitely offices. Yeah. We're keeping the ghost of the past alive. It's more important that way. So whenever it comes to when did you transition to become president CEO? You didn't go straight from yard boy to president. So no, there were probably some stops along the way. Right. Yeah, and thankful for that too. Well, like I said, we just kind of gradually progressed within the organization, bigger roles over time. I became the COO in 2016. Yeah. And so Mom, she's kind of gradually worked her way out of the operation. She's had some health issues. She's doing some other things. And so I've actually run it for a long time, but we were able to make the transition officially in 2021 to me being president and CEO. And, from there, we've just been moving this thing forward and really working through that. Coming off the pandemic, I think we've had struggles like everybody in the world had struggles. It really is a test on your ability to be responsive in the face of a pandemic or a crisis. And I would tell you, we took a lot of learning lessons from that, several learning lessons that honestly have taken about 36 to 40 months just to right size in some cases, because your entire business model and education delivery has to transition. We had never taught an online class a day in our existence, and within a week we were teaching online. And so that's a massive institutional change. And we have 7 different campuses, and we have over 200 plus employees. We also have 2 early learning centers, and so we have a lot of moving parts, because again, at every campus we have multiple programs, multiple departments, multiple employees at different levels, and so it's just trying to work through that. And again, we took some lumps on that. Just I think like anybody that is being honest about their response to COVID, like you're learning on the fly when you're going, and which means you get some things right, which means you don't. And you just have to work through that.
But I guess, I mean, having to go online, did you then continue having online options, which then expands your services? And
no, that's exactly right. I mean,
it's something you wouldn't have done.
Yeah, well,
I mean, maybe eventually, but like it would have been.
It wasn't on our radar. Like I can tell you that, and now it's part of how we run our operation. We have hybrid classes that they'll be in class Monday through Thursday. Friday's a remote day, but we also have through our learning management system the ability to, do what any other school would offer. You take tests, submit assignments, be able to go there. We have Unitech Online, which services Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama.
That's awesome.
And so we were able to launch that stemming from this. And, again, so it's trying to meet students where they're at. If you want to be in, so right now we're servicing 4 generations, right? I mean, we still have we have students in their late 60s. Then we also have Gen X, millennials, we're having Gen Z enter now. And so we're educating 4 different generations, which I don't think people, there's a lot of discussion on the workplace, because our workforce has 4 generations. So many different generations. But our students also have, we're spanning 4 generations. Plus, again, working with the Early Learning Center, and we have about 140, 150 kids under our umbrella right now, working with them. And so we're all over the place in terms of like, where people are at. And so there's complications. So we have 100% in-person options. We have hybrid options. We have 100% online options, different components. Where are you at? Where do you want to learn? How do you want to learn? How are we working with the workforce to try to help learn what their needs are, to be able to incorporate that more into our classrooms, to make sure that we're teaching people things that are current. How are we able to work with? So you have different audiences. You have the workforce, you have your student base, you also have, I consider our team members, our employees, an audience that we have to make sure that we meet them where they're at. And when you are spanning 4 generations, and people, like coming up, there are not a lot of people that read much. They just don't read as much anymore. And so when you're delivering training, our ability to get into video training, to be able to work through short bite-sized little clips, and we're even having discussions right now, do we want to make podcast style training so that people can we need them educated on how to do their job well. And we can try to put them through a traditional training that is progressively less and less effective, or we can try to find different options where some people they need to be trained, other places where we train. So the way we train our workforce parallels to how we train our students for the workforce, and really trying to match that up while we're training our progressively. There's just a lot to learn in this sector. How to run a school well, how to run an operation well, how to have span multiple operations. And so for me, I spend a lot of time with my management team trying to develop them, to try to develop other people, try to develop others. So a lot of components of that, probably a lot of off in the weeds, long-winded response. But
what when you came in and became president CEO role, change is hard no matter what it is. Change is never hard whenever you're taking over from a parent. Why would that be difficult? I'm not allowed to. I can't move the plate where the plates are whenever I go to my parents' house. I can't do that, much less take a company and go.
Well, it's smart that you learned that lesson.
What for you? I mean, taking over and coming in and saying, "Hey, this is still our family's legacy, but this is my vision." I don't know, what's that process been like? I mean, where do you see Unitech? Like,
Yeah.
Unitech Training Academy. Well, I mean, training what? You know, that could mean 1,000 things. You know,
Right.
so for you, what does it mean?
Well, I think for us, we want to make sure that we are a value add to the community and that we are adapting to the community needs. So instead of saying, here's our slate of programs, come take our programs, you adapt to us. No, where are the needs at? Where are the workforce needs? Where are the enrollment demands? Like, what do people want to do? And do they match up? I would tell you, for us to keep a program viable, for us to bring a program, it has to clear 3 hurdles. There has to be a demand for enrollment.
Okay.
Students need to want to do it. And we've seen that there are programs that there are good jobs out there, but students aren't interested.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't want to do that right now. There needs to be a demand for employment. So when the students do come to Unitech,
They have a place
are
to
there
go.
places for them to go
Yeah.
work, or have we saturated the field and there's just maybe 60 job openings in the area, but 150 graduates coming out
Yeah.
between us and other schools?
Yeah, that's
Well,
gonna be a problem.
that's not good, right?
Yeah.
And third, can it meet affordability? Like, are we losing money on this thing, right? It's not always about making a profit as much as do we not lose money?
Yeah.
Because, you know, those are things that, again, if that's a value add, if we can do this and stay flat and we're adding value to the community, that's good for Unitech, that's good for everybody. So you'd be surprised how hard it is to clear all 3 of those hurdles.
Yeah.
It's usually 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
And so I'd say for us, we want to make sure that we are being adaptable. We are paying attention to shifting dynamics, that we are being smart, not too reactive, but we are being responsive in a sense to what the needs are, being well thought out. So those are things that really don't deviate too much from the original value. We want to meet people where they're at and add value. I think for us, it's really putting a lot of effort on, like, what are the workforce needs, what are the demands? Because we need to put a lot more, I think most educational institutions need to really put a lot more into how they teach what they teach, to have graduates be ready to go enter a workforce early and be successful, because there seems to be a growing divide between the workforce and educational institutions in terms of student output, graduate output.
Like, what's available, you mean? Like,
Well,
as
just
far as on the back end?
I don't want to dumb it down to just soft skill development.
Sure.
But a lot of, they're not professional. They don't know what, they want to do. But one thing that I am actually seeing, that has been the trend for a while, is just the dividing gap. But I've actually recently seen it go in the other direction finally, where there are a lot of employers that are starting to understand that I have to meet this workforce where it's at.
Yeah.
That if I want 20-somethings or young 20-somethings coming out that are going to be successful in my organization, I have to concede a little bit.
Yeah.
Where down here, I would tell you, there's been a lot more of the employees aren't good. They're not coming out. They're not prepared. They're not ready. And I've heard that at roundtables. I've heard that at other things from, UL, Sola CC, Unitech, other things. Like, they're just not where they need to be. And over the past year, the curve has started turning a little bit to, what do we need to do to improve our onboarding? How do we make this better? Because we and how do we partner with educational institutions to be able to do that? And I think that's where it needs to be. There needs to be education business partnership. And the positive component of that is that's actually starting to happen at a greater pace.
Well, and that's your companies that distinguish themselves from others are the ones who see it as, it is not, I can't sit there and be like, you have to come in and be at this point. Like, the best companies look at it as like, we need to get to this point together. And so that means we as the company need to figure something out. Like, maybe, how are we onboarding? How are we, every person that, that I ever fired, it was never 100% their fault. At some point, I have to take some amount of ownership, and didn't train you well enough, didn't give you something that you needed. Now, like, you did a bunch of things wrong. But, like, how clear was I? There's so many spaces where if I'm willing to say this isn't all on you, then I'm less likely to make that mistake again. And so, and I guess the employees today sort of feeling is not new. I mean, like, I can print out articles from the 90s, from the 80s, from the 70s, And you won't be able to tell if that's a 75 article or if that's a 2024 article.
Yeah.
Because
People are people.
people are always,
Yeah.
every generation looks at someone after them and says they're not enough, or fill in the blank or whatever enough. Let's just stop doing that. Instead of just blaming, like, let's figure out, okay, so what can we do to make so we have people who are more prepared, or,
I think that's smart.
you can't take all the responsibility, but if you don't try.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a sign of intelligence and reflection, which is good that you do that, right? I do that as well. It's you're always looking back at how can we improve this, what's going wrong, do we set this person up for success? Doesn't mean we remove personal accountability, but also where's our institutional accountability with this?
Yeah.
And so I think a question that I pose to our team, and one that we are actually in the process of clearly refining for our messaging, which I think is important to how everybody views your organization, right? Do the employees view it one way? Do the students view it another way? Do the outside public view it another way? Well, that means your message isn't clear and distinct. So we work on that. And so one of the questions I pose is are we a vocational school or are we a workforce development?
I really wanted to talk about this.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to that.
Vocational
what
school.
Are you?
And I think that's where we're going through here, is that our goal here is workforce development. So we can talk about vocational school, and when we go through that, if we're not more clear, it could be that our teachers think, okay, I'm here to teach them how to draw blood. I'm here to teach them how to attach electrodes. I'm here to go through all of these areas to make sure that I'm just teaching proficiently. That's different. That's just a little bit of a varying degree and different lens versus I'm here to make you a professional. I'm here to ensure I'm doing everything I can to help you get hired.
Yeah.
I'm producing a professional, which means we're going to concentrate on passing that credentialing exam. Yeah. We're going to work on.
It may seem over the top, but I'm here to change your life.
Well, we're here to
because if that student's there,
yeah,
they aren't there just for fun. Right. It's not I think I'm going to learn how to draw blood today. That's not something that most people. I'm not saying no, but most people aren't thinking about. They're there because I want to put my life in a different direction.
Well,
I want to go get a job. I want to go get a different job, a higher paying job. I want to.
School's not the destination, right? School's the vessel.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think it's really important to know that they're coming here so they can get to their destination. And so when we treat that as such, we can't treat ourselves as the destination. That, okay, you're coming here for school. No, you're coming here so that you can go on to the next place in life, the next phase. And it's our job to help prepare you for that. And it's very simplistic, but just making sure that all of our messages are refined around that central point allows us all to see it the same way. Mm-hmm. And that's important for us moving forward at a faster click and being more successful with our outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's where we want to be. But there's a lot that goes into that. Whenever you're looking at a institutional strategy, institutional brand, institutional message, everything has to align all the way through, from operations to messaging to outcomes, so that people understand, okay, this is what they are. Yeah. Our job is not school. Our job is preparation to get them to where they need to be. And school is a component of that.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very important distinction versus, hey, I'm in school. That's great. You're basically taking the next step. And that's where we want to celebrate it as.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that companies that are able to see, sort of that whole, we're basically talking about story branding. And so companies that see themselves as the hero in the story, it's not going to work out. Yeah. Your role as the company isn't to be the hero. Your role in the story is to be the guide. The customer is the hero. If you can make your customer the hero, I'm here because I need to better my life for my family, and so I'm going to go to this place. And now the guide comes along and says, hey, let's do these things. We can help you with these things, and now we're going to send you off, and you're going to be your story, not Unitech.
Yeah.
Unitech's not the hero. Unitech was just, hey, we're just here to guide you along.
There are a lot of components to how you approach it, right? How you approach, how do we want to message? How do we want to be known? Mm-hmm. How do we structure what we do? And really, how do you view your institution? This is a very common example. Sorry, it's so played out, but McDonald's doesn't make the best hamburger, right? And so,
wait, what?
I know, shocker, right? Well, I guess maybe for some, no shade at McDonald's.
Good cheeseburger, absolutely.
But
they're looking to sponsor someone. We would love to have them.
Yeah, it was great, outstanding. Yeah. Some may say that McDonald's doesn't have the best hamburger, but they had the best processes, they had the best business model, and they also understood that we're a real estate company. Our goal
Yeah.
here is to go buy real estate, and we're going to put McDonald's on top of it. So
Yeah.
they understood what their approach to strategy was.
Mhm.
And because of that, they're really successful. And I think there are a lot of organizations that they truly understand what they're trying to do, and it's not always the most obvious thing.
Yeah.
Right. So for us, workforce development is truly what we're trying to do, where education might be the obvious thing, where education is an extremely important component to what we do.
Yeah.
But the main strategy is they come to Unitech, they're credentialed, they're working
Yeah.
after. And so if that's what we're really trying to do, that's the main strategy behind we set everything else up for. And education is an important component to that.
Ages ago, you mentioned sort of like you had your students and you've got all these different sort of levels, and you mentioned your employees as one of those, basically as another customer.
Right.
And so you work to put your students in a position to succeed. With 200 employees, what's that look like for the employee, for them? Like, what are you trying to do with them?
It's a moving target. I think for us, we want to make sure that we are providing stability as an employer. Again, those are some things that I think post-COVID, even up until last year, we're still really working through of making sure that people understand what their job responsibility is. They understand what is expected of them. We are able to provide a good culture, and that is being both leading a culture and being responsive to what does a collective team like to do. Because when you have an institution with multiple locations, you have what you try to build in your overall culture, but then you also have all these subcultures because we're all human beings, and it's the culture is going to be the collective of the people at each location. Yeah. So we want to make sure that there's consistency of operation, that obviously we want you to do your local things that you really enjoy. We want to give you autonomy to be able to enjoy each other as coworkers and be able to build that camaraderie. But we also want it to be complementary to the Unitech culture as a whole, and what we're trying to do. And that's really making sure that we have a respectful culture, that we listen, we're able to throw in some fun things. We've put a lot into training and development here recently, and we're still building on that. We want to be a place where you're either going to move up at Unitech, or if you leave us, it's for a better opportunity. And so what we don't want to see, and what we're really trying to build, is an institution where you're not just leaving us for another option because I think it's a lateral move and the grass is greener over here. We want to be a place where I enjoy coming to work, I have fulfillment, I'm doing good things, I like what I do, I like my coworkers, I like the students, I feel like we're accomplishing a lot of success. I still work for my daughter, make sure we have the aura and the vibes.
Exactly.
And
have a vibes.
Right. She just instinctively cringed and didn't know why.
Just sitting in class, just like
just
twitched
like
all
what was
of a
that?
sudden. Oh God, Dad mentioned vibes. But I mean,
and so again, I know that's just like a lot of what we're trying to do, but at the end of the day, we want to have a place of meaning, a place where people feel good about where they work, they understand what they're trying to do, they see a path forward. And again, we're not trying to be anything that is unconventional. We're just trying to be really good at what we do.
You want to be life positive, like, because you have to have a job, right? You have to have money. You have to have money. And, the purpose of work is to get that paycheck. Like, if you didn't give them the paycheck, they probably wouldn't come to work. But what else can you do on top of that? Can you be life positive? Where this makes my life better. Yes, I have to be here because I need to eat, but also my life is better. I like the people that I'm with. I feel like they care about my direction of my life. And, and the idea of if someone's going to leave, there's one place I worked in the past, we always talked about, we have to continually give the best away in order to get the best. Like, someone who's amazing is coming up and they need a job. And there's someone in the job that they need to be, it's like that person needs to leave. That person has to leave. We don't want them to leave. We love them and all these things, but they have to leave because there's someone just as incredible coming up. We need a place for them. And so viewing it like that helped whenever people did leave. And you can't help but love to see it. I mean, you'd be sad for a day because you're going to miss them, but then you see that, hey, look what they get to go do somewhere else. that's
Yeah.
hard to be upset about.
Well, that's it. Even adding to that, I think everything you said is right, and it really exposed us a few years ago that we didn't have a deep bench.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so when you bring in people from the outside, it's such a learning curve, right? It's so large because there's just a lot of compliance, there's a lot of policy, there's a lot of just this is how you do it well. And so we found that as we can promote, we're more successful. And that's every organization for the most part. But we put so much into learning and training and development into our employees so that inevitably, whenever we do lose some team members, we have people waiting in the wings ready to move up. And now all of a sudden we can invest in them in a different direction than we were already investing in them. But the learning curve is not so big.
Yeah.
And so because that impacts everybody down the line. I mean, that impacts all the employees. If we had to bring in a new manager, that impacts all the students. It impacts everything. And so the more you can have consistency of operation, the more stable you can make it. And so it just goes to show you like what you invest in is where you get the results at, right? And where your attention is where you're going to get the results. And so if you're not investing in training and development, you're going to get exposed on that. You know, if you're not investing into, technology or software, you're going to get exposed on that. May not be today, but it's ultimately just whatever you put your attention towards what's going to end up doing well.
Well, I mean, talking about investing in people is a good kind of opportunity to segue into, I mean, you kind of grew up in the company, from position to position and now at the CEO level. But you've continued to invest in yourself. I mean, you went and got an MBA, you're now in a doctoral program. Like you can't be super CEO. Like you've already reached the top level. So which means it's not to get you to another space. So what's it for?
Yeah. Why? It's so funny when I tell people I'm getting my doctorate, that is the number one question. Why? And so, and I've started asking myself that here recently. But no, look, I think it's important to continue to grow. I'm a fan of lifelong learning. I believe that if you are running an organization, it's even more important to invest into yourself. The question I would respond with is, if I'm in charge of an organization that is tasked with developing and training the frontline workforce for local business and healthcare, IT, early childhood, if I'm trying to help our team members grow and improve their life, and I'm kind of captain of the ship of this, why would I not continue to push forward and grow and invest? I think that's be irresponsible not to continue to grow and help this organization grow when I have the ability to do that. Yeah. And so, I mean, do I have to do it for a promotion? No. I mean, I think this is the true reason why higher education exists, is for you to go and grow yourself so you can do better for yourself, do better for your family, do better for society. Yeah. And that is the whole point higher education exists, is to be able to help local economies, to be able to help do community good, to be able to help with liberal arts, and to have a more well-rounded, well-educated, highly performing society. Yeah. And so I want to be a contributor to that. Yeah.
Well, since now that Noah's plugged higher education, this is our reminder that we're at the University of Louisiana Lafayette, and we would love to have you here. And you too can be like Noah, who also went to UL.
Class of 2008.
Yeah, there you go. You have a brick somewhere on campus.
I do.
So, and because I know that some of your doctoral research is looking at frontline managers, so let's maybe dive into that for a little bit. Why do you want to look into frontline managers, and what's sort of the backstory about that?
Yeah, so I find so small business is really still the backbone of America, and what my experience has been, but also what I've found in talking to other small business owners, and the research will even back it up, is small business is typically started by just somebody who's a really good tactician at what they do, right? They're very good. They start up what they know, and they want to add value, and they will build their team gradually. And they're often under-resourced because they're either taking out money to live on, or they're just putting back into the institution to grow it, trying to keep it moving. But small businesses typically they do not have the resources of these larger organizations. Yeah. And so again, path to success is promotion. So you have people that are really good at what they do, and they've been there for a little while. So like, okay, more times than not, it's like, you're going to be promoted now. Now you're in charge of this. And all of the investment goes into the frontline workforce and the top tier training. It's the frontline workforce, the frontline managers that typically do not get the training and development they need. They know how to do X really well, but they didn't get a lot of management training, a lot of development, how to talk to people, how to even look at some
You're
P&Ls.
a great server. You're wonderful at building relationships at the table. Hey, awesome. You don't get to do that anymore. You now have to supervise other servers.
Right. And we're not robots, we're human beings. And so dealing with emotions, dealing with people that have home lot, things going on at home, trying to work through all that, try to balance schedules, try to manage everything, try to lead the team to performance.
Yeah. Totally different skill set than why we promoted.
And in small business, why aren't we investing in that as much? Is it because we don't have the resources?
Yeah.
Is it because, and that could be money, time, technology. Is it because we don't see the value in it? Is it because the frontline manager doesn't have time for it or doesn't want it?
Yeah.
They might not see the value in it. But what we see is the frontline management, because they are promoted and they don't have the requisite skill set or training, those positions turn over a lot.
Yeah.
And that keeps small business stagnant a lot of times, because now you have the people that started the business, they can't work on it, they have to work in it in a lot of cases, and you can't work on growing if you're trying to keep the day-to-day going. So I really wanted to research the opportunities there between local educational providers to partner with small business. How can we help develop the frontline management? Because again, you don't have the resources to hire top level talent to come in. You can't pay for somebody, if let's say going rate is $100,000 for this manager, but you can't pay over 60 because that math is the math. You can't pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, I know that I'm not going to be able to get this talent up here. So how can I develop this internally to be able to grow with people that we have and foster and build that?
If all I can do is take a 50 person and give them 60.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
And
if they don't have the resource, the skills, if they don't have the...
Well, and money is not always, salary is not always an indicator of talent, but I would tell you that, there are variations of experience, it goes along with that. And so when you're a small business, how can you develop your employees faster, more intentional, to make sure that they're meeting the demands of where you need? Because a lot of times there are hungry people that work at small business. I mean, and I say that like metaphorically, not just like literally, but sometimes that too. They want to grow, they want to be invested in, but they can't afford to go to school, or they have all these other things. And so there's this level of being stuck.
Yeah.
That, and getting out of this, how do we get out of the hamster wheel? And I think there's a lot of opportunity for local educational providers to be able to partner with these institutions to be able to help to add some of those. And some are doing that. And there are a lot of online resources now that people are taking. But again, we're spanning 4 generations here. Yeah. And so what's effective, for some may not be effective for others. And what are just some core components of successful partnerships that we're seeing between educational institutions? Seminars, is it semester-long classes? Is it a series of trainings? Are there follow-ups? And so really doing my research now on what's currently happening. What are the different types of modalities being offered? Why do people partner? Why don't they partner?
Yeah.
Is there anything that's even there? Do they even know about it? Because again, small businesses, they're so tunnel vision most of the time.
Absolutely. They're so focused on the tree that the forest is burning.
They don't even.
But it's like
they don't even see the problem.
Yeah.
And I think the ability to be able to get out there and message and work through that's important. Yeah. So that's what we're working on.
Not to get a promotion, because again.
Yeah. Well.
Can't be super CEO. I mean, you can, I guess, if you want.
Well,
it's your home position.
I get promoted if we do better.
There you go. Open some more locations and things like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take a quick break and just see, are there questions from anyone who wants to know about starting your own Unitech Training Academy, or anything about his journey, or anything about what he's done? We'll open it up to the thousands of people who are here now.
Yeah, right.
This is where I should have told you to come up with a question.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, I asked one more question.
I think we covered it all, I guess. That must have been what happened.
No, I don't think so at all. Ethan's back there thinking about something. as everyone thinks about a question to ask, then I'll come back. When you think about experiences that you had growing up, at Unitech, what were some indicators for you about the kind of culture that your mom was creating while she was also trying to keep all the plates spinning? Are there things that sort of stuck out as like, hey, these are some pretty foundational things about Unitech?
Well, I would say one thing that she set up were just expectations. We are here to make sure that other people are being successful, right? And so anything that's counter to that isn't something that's going to be tolerated too well, right?
Yeah.
And we have different styles, I would say, but she's about her business. She's going to get it done. She is on you if you're not on it. I take a little bit more of a different approach to it, but
Mom didn't have time. Like we got things to do.
she's on it, man. Yeah. Like again, I don't say that in a bad way. She was very effective, and so it's just the expectations that we're here to do a good job. We're here to enroll students. We're here to graduate students. We're here to develop the workforce. We want to make sure that people have a better shot at life, and that people have that entryway into where they want to be able to start their path.
Yeah.
Or in some places, some people pivot careers. Like I've done this for a while. Now I want to do this.
Yeah.
And so wherever you're at, are we providing that value for you? And I think for me, that has carried through the entire time of what we do is going to look different progressively, but the operational principles remain that we're here to move people forward through education.
Yeah.
And so that has been there forever, and it's probably going to always be there. I would say I can't see us getting away from that. But the way we do that changes over time because society changes, learning resources change, workforce demands change, the way people consume information change. So we have to evolve with that. But at the end of the day, are you better after you left Unitech Academy than before you came?
Yeah.
And that's where we want to be.
Yeah. Having that kind of baseline.
Yeah.
All right, now we can come back out. Has anyone thought about something in the interim? Okay, good. Thanks, Ethan. This is why I go to him.
Yeah.
Just bombs.
Well, I think it starts with understanding that it's not everybody else's company. And so not everybody is going to have there are people that love what we do, and there are people that really find a lot of meaning in their work and their life's work, but it's different when it's yours. And I would tell you, you start managing your expectations by understanding that not everybody is going to care about it the same way as you. Because when you put your expectations on others, you're going to constantly be disappointed. And the goal here is to make all your team members the best they can be. And so one of the things I've had to work on over the years is my inner dialogue of, you don't belong here, this isn't good enough, or this is problematic. More people have that inner dialogue than they admit. I think one thing that's changed over the past 5 years is more people have started admitting that, which is, I think, a healthy place to be, but you can't live there, right? I started being fair to myself, and I will compliment myself. I'm good at some things, and there are things that I'm not as good at. And so you do better leaning into the things that you're really good at and trying to improve the things you're not good at, but not living there. I know a lot of people that I'm not good at this. I'm going to dedicate all of my time to this thing that I'm not good at, or that I just don't enjoy, or whatever, because I have to be good at it. I would tell you, get yourself up to a performing level and whatever that is, and lean into the things that make you great. Lean into the things that you're good at, because that's really what's going to drive you forward. It's not trying to make up for your deficiencies. It's leaning into your skill sets. And you're going to be a lot happier, and you're going to be more successful doing that. Your expectations are going to be met more when you put your expectations into places that you can go out and thrive and achieve and do well. Like, perfect example, I know how to read P&Ls, and I know how to have a good conversation with a profit and loss statement. If I had to sit there and manually enter all the stuff, I would lose my mind, because I don't like doing it, and so I'm not going to be very good at it. But if I said I have to perfect this skill set, that's not really serving me or the institution, when I know that there are other people that is what they like doing, and that is where they're good at, and they need to come in and they need to do that stuff. I find a lot of small businesses, especially entrepreneurs or people that are trying to start their own thing, a lot of them get so held back about the idea of doing their finances because it's intimidating to them or scary to them, and they don't want to do that. Like, okay, sure, but starting out, like, let's say suck it up, but like get into the mindset that I'm going to do this for the first 6 months just so I have my familiarity. Then I'm going to kick this out, because I don't think people understand when you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of ins and outs on your finances typically.
It's the easiest time to kind of learn the basics.
You can learn it, and then somebody else will do it for $20 an hour, which again might seem like a lot if you're a small business, but you might not have more than 5 hours a month of stuff to do. And so you just put that in your expenses of $100, and all of a sudden that's just, you're not leaning into the stuff you dislike. You're leaning into the stuff you do like. And that's really important for people starting out, is like the stuff that I don't like or the stuff that I'm not as good at, how can I move this stuff to somebody else inexpensively so I can focus on the things that are going to make us great or make me good. And you can't be mad at people when they don't get as passionate about your organization as you do, because you have everything on the line and they don't. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. I mean, that's normal. Just like when you've ever worked at a place, I doubt you are as passionate as the owner. It's just, that's human nature. Doesn't mean you're not going to have passionate people about what they do. I mean, there are levels to it. But circling back to the question of how do you manage your expectations, you put yourself in a position to manage your expectations where, you have to be intentional with that as well.
I think, remembering that piece, I think, is so critical. No one will care about this as much as you do. Mm-hmm. And that has to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's unfair to say your name is not on here, but you better care about this as much as I do. Like,
it's unrealistic.
Vastly different everything.
And you're going to constantly be disappointed because there's just no way.
Yeah. It's so real, without saying you got to care a little bit. But so finding that balance that probably fluctuates depending on person and position and what they're doing and what they bring to to the table. And
and I say that I work with a lot of passionate people. I mean, people who really care about what they're doing. But again, it's just different, man. I mean, it's just different when it's like your family business, your organization. I mean, I would tell you, even as I developed through the years, the intentionality I took toward jumping into things, doing stuff, because I knew that like this was going to be mine someday, and so I better learn it. That's different than somebody that, you're showing up to work every day just trying to do good work, or you're trying to do good in the world and do all this stuff. It's when it all falls on you, there's going to be that level of seriousness.
Because I love that you just brought up this idea, because every entrepreneur that we talk to, the thread that weaves through everyone's story is certainly the imposter level at some point. Like, how did I get here? Why am I in this room? And so, like for you, like walking into rooms at 38, 39, running this thing where there's plenty of other people who, maybe they already have doctorates, maybe they already have all this experience. So are there things that you sort of either do to maybe get yourself in the right mindset before you maybe go into a meeting, into a room, into a whatever, so that you remember that you're just as remarkable as all these other people? And
that's sweet.
So there you go. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
You look better, if nothing
else. So for me, I've had to learn this over the years too, of don't make it bigger than it is. You're here because you're doing a specific thing and you're doing it well. You don't need to be them. They're doing great things as well. Mm-hmm. Not everything is a competition. Even though a lot of things seem like a competition, I'm not going to come in there and have to prove myself. The work stands alone for itself, and I'm here. I have a voice. I'm not going to overspeak if I don't need to. I'm not going to say something if I don't have a point to make. Like, I'm not going to be heard just to be heard, and I think those things are important. It's kind of like I would tell everybody at Unitech. I said, I understand that I am here. I'm in this position. My mom started the organization, and so I'm fortunate with that. It's my job to make sure that I earn everybody's respect, and I work through it, and to say that even though Noah is here, largely in part because his mom started the organization, I'm really glad Noah's the president.
Yeah.
Because Noah gets
Those two
it.
things can exist at the same time.
They can. And
Yeah.
I got to tell you, just growing up, you battle with that of like, okay, I'm always going to be in a shadow. Is this not going to be good? Like, are people going to think that I don't earn this or that I don't
Yeah.
deserve to be here? And look, I'm somebody that, even though I'm hard on myself, I would tell you, I believe I'm going to be successful at whatever I do, but I have to go earn it. And so, again, I don't shy away from the fact that, even though like we had a lot of struggles starting up, and I've kind of worked my way up in this organization alongside, mom and doing all those stuff, I'm in the opportunity I have because she struggled so much and she overcame those adversities and put us in an opportunity to do that. It's my goal here to have everybody say, even though that's the case, boy, we're happy that Noah is president, because there are other institutions that would also like to have him run the organization. We're just lucky. And so that's something that I work for, is for people to say like, okay, we respect this guy. He gets it. He works hard. It wasn't just like handed over, but it's something that we're able to work and build and move forward.
There's a ton to admire about that. I think that like whether a CEO comes in because their mom or dad was a CEO before or not. I mean, I think that if you hire an outside CEO and there's 500 employees, that person doesn't interview with all 500 people.
No.
Like the person interviewed with 3, and they liked he or she more than everybody else. And so taking that same approach of, I have to now go and show you or encourage you or earn why I got to this place and why I get to be here, and where we're all going to go because of it.
I think it's really important.
Yeah.
And plus, it's kind of beating my head growing up too that about how second and third generations have ruined companies, and so I'm like, okay, so
Okay, I get
that
it.
was always kind of like
unnecessary, but
their kids came in here and ruined it. God, I heard that a lot about car dealerships.
That's why you stay at the Ryans, because at any point this can go back to being a Ryans.
Hey,
like,
listen,
one wrong move,
versatility, baby. That's good.
We can always go back. The warmers are in the back, I'm sure, at some point. All right, last opportunity for any other questions, and then we will wrap things up. We're going to wrap things up now. All right, Noah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your story and talking about everything that you've gone through, and I don't know, all the stuff that's made you into where you are now.
Oh, man, thank you for the opportunity to come here and talk about everything. It was
Absolutely.
great.
Well, I mean, like, the fact that you've, and your mom's pretty awesome. Like,
she is. She's a force of nature.
Not just for that, but I think to raise you the way for you to be who you are at 39, to be able to accomplish a lot. And you got a lot of people who are lucky working for you, and so I'm excited to see where all that goes. You're a great dad. And all.
Oh, man, trying to keep up with you, man.
No,
I'm
just tall. That's all I am. All right.
That's half of it, honestly.
That's half of the battle. All right. Well, thank you all for being here, for watching online. Next Tuesday, we will be talking with Eileen Bennett, who is a creative and an author and an illustrator, and I'm really excited about that conversation. Then a couple other people coming in the future. Nina Charles, who owns Nina Creole food truck, and she was on Is It Cake, and she was on just on the Food Network, and she's incredible. And then we've got Shayna, who opened up Oliver Lane Creative downtown, and so if you're ever downtown, you want to be creative, you can jump in there. So lots of really fun people to come and sit in the chair and chat for a bit. So
Stacked lineup, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Hey, well, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, bud.
Oh.
All right. Come here. Okay. All right. Then everybody's going to clap for you. It's going to be great. And people are still online because they're listening to what's going on until we press a button.